All right, we're back with the Joe Gibson shoot interview, and when we left off from our break, which was instantaneous for the viewers at home, we were talking. It was right after your first match with Craig Hare,
Yeah.
and kind of tell us about the ins and outs of Gulf South and working for Percy Pringle.
Like I said before, I mean, Percy ran a very tight ship. Like everything that happened at that show happened for a reason. I mean, when you showed up, you knew exactly who you were going to be wrestling. You knew exactly how long you were going. You didn't go over. You didn't go under. 10 minutes meant 10 minutes, you know. It was just, he had a certain time that he wanted to end by, and that was, you know, send them home happy. That was his philosophy when he ran a show, was send the crowd home happy and fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you know, all good things come to an end. There was just some things that were happening at the time, and
Yeah, I've heard that it was, as well as it was ran, it was very political.
yeah, with a lot of like decent, more than decent, I should say, independent wrestlers, I guess, come a lot of the egos that come with it, and it got to the point where, you know, Percy always had a saying, when it stopped being fun, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, he's for a long time he's used that saying.
And it just stopped being fun dealing with all the people who had ideas constantly that just didn't really work, or just guys who constantly just went in business for themselves when they got out in the ring, and it just became more of a headache for them, so Gulf South folded.
Now, as somebody who was early in, when you're a wrestler and you're just kind of there, you're not really, your opinion isn't valued. Some people aren't even allowed to have one.
No,
Were you asked any questions, or were you
No.
just kind of, I'm happy to be here?
It was just one of those things where you're just happy to have your spot,
Right.
and you never, even when Gulf South closed, I didn't even ask why.
You didn't ask anybody why?
Well, not until later. Like I would ask, I asked Neon Flex or Carlos, or,
Right.
you know, just, so what's going on? They just say just a lot of personal issues, just like, you know.
Uh-huh.
And it came up as to why, and it was just because, you know, it went right back to what Percy was saying. When it stops being fun, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He just got tired of all the politics and the headache, and anybody can tell you that running a wrestling show is not an easy task, especially when you're dealing basically with a group of overgrown children.
Was Percy promoting, booking,
Yeah.
writing?
Well, it was a collaboration effort. I mean, there was a partnership. It was himself, Marcel Pringle, Carl Roach, and I think Eon Flex had a hand in it too.
as far as promoting, or
As
as far
far
as
as
booking?
like, I think ownership, as far as like who all put the work into making Gulf South work,
Mhm.
and it was never a question as to, you know, the promoting, because you could turn on the radio and hear Gulf South Wrestling being advertised on country stations, and
So the houses they had good house.
always had a decent house. Like, I thought it was the norm, seriously, for professional wrestling shows in this area to draw at least 150, 200 people.
Well, the only independent shows you'd been to were PWA. And
PWA,
and
which
Gulf South.
drew phenomenally, and Vanguard, which drew pretty well.
Mhm.
So I just always thought it was the norm, you know, the fact that you put out a few flyers and you get 200 people. I just, you know, never put two and two together until later on, you know.
Well, that's an interesting segue. You're talking about very, shows that do well. Your next show that you go to after Gulf South.
Yeah, a little hot shot promotion up in Bruton called Dirty South Professional Wrestling.
How did you get involved with Dirty South Pro
Well,
Wrestling?
And this goes back to what I said before. The guy who took over the book was Jerry Reiner, and it was a guy that I watched in PWA, and I had a
So Jerry was booking for Dirty South.
Jerry's booking, and so at the time Carlos got booked on the show. So I'd ask Carlos to get a hold of Jerry and ask, you know, if there was an extra spot on the card, or if there's anything I can do to, you know, help out or whatever. Just once again, just kind of put my foot in the door and just. I thought the promotion's name was stupid, but I kind of enjoyed the people who were working there. You know,
Who were some of the people that were working there that you
basically it was PWA, man. I mean, you had Mays, Cruz, Jerry, Cyrus LeVay, Jesus, who else?
Flex, Carlos.
Well, yeah, Flex didn't come till later. There was some other guy. I don't know. He's probably tip of my tongue and easily forgettable. Nick Vortex.
You go to
Since he's sitting over here trying to put himself over, since he's awesome.
Somebody needs to.
So it was a roster that you knew.
It was a roster that I knew from when I used to watch the PWA, so I had to be a part of it.
Uh-huh.
And since Gulf South was down, I seriously didn't know anywhere else to wrestle.
Mhm.
Like, that was it. Like, when Gulf South went down, I was just like, I'm dead in the water.
Now, how much of a transition was it from the owner being owner and the guy in charge was Percy Pringle to now the promoter owner was?
Some ham and egger named Johnny Angel, who used to work ring security for a few of the wrestling shows, who would actually ask for bookings as ring security.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't even want to talk about
Okay.
that asshole. Because what he's done for wrestling in this area, I seriously think Genital Warts could have contributed more to it. At least Genital Warts is more over than Johnny Angel ever was, but
How did you walk in? You don't know anybody. What's your first thought on how the locker room is ran?
dude, the locker room is so laid back. Like, I seriously thought it was another strange locker room. Once again, the locker rooms I was used to being a part of were a lot of like really talented guys, and it's not taking anything away from these guys from PWA, but what I'm saying is like a lot of these guys who were just like, you walk in and like their shit didn't stink.
Mm.
They were everybody was God's gift of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Minus a few of the guys. That's not fair of me to say, but you did have your egos in the locker room. But I walk into the Dirty South locker room, and you got guys. Basically, everybody's just joking and cutting up and laid back, having a good time. Throwing personal jokes back and forth. It was basically just like hanging out with your buddies. It wasn't necessarily like a professional show where you show up, you're just straight laced, you're going over your spots. Everybody was just coking and joking and having a good time, which was just it blew my mind. It was like night and day. So I instantly just gravitated towards that because it was just a new group of guys who a lot of them were around my age, and just a lot of them were guys that I remember watching in PWA.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually got put in a match as a fill-in against Cornbread, who was another guy I remembered from PWA.
So your first match was against Cornbread?
Yeah, at Dirty South. My first match was against Cornbread.
He was in the process of getting a huge push. He was going to
Yeah.
be the top babyface.
And basically all Jerry said was like, go out there and put him over in 7 minutes.
Mm.
Nothing flashy, nothing special. Just go out there and be a heel.
And at this point, you were jumping Joe Gibson.
Yeah, I totally missed the boat on explaining that whole.
Let's
riddle.
back up. Let's hear it.
My first match with Craig Hare, we're reading the program, and Percy didn't mention anything about this, but he made sure that we had a copy of the program in the locker room. So, and he says, and for the only thing he says is like, y'all make sure y'all read that program now.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, that means go read the program. So we're reading it, and it says featured student exhibition match, Jumping Joe Gibson against College Craig Hare. I pouted so bad. I said, Jumping Joe, seriously? Like, I didn't even like the Jumping Jim Brunzell gimmick. I just like, phenomenal guy, but they're like, why would you Jumping? Seriously? I'm like 250 pounds of pure man meat, and you put me over as jumping. Like, I don't think I've jumped for anything in my life. But it was one of those things that you knew you were being ribbed.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to see how you were going to take it. Thank you, sir. May I have another? So later on in Bruton, now we're back in present time, I'm billed as Jumpin' Joe Gibson against Cornbread. And I go out there and I have a little match, and Jerry says thanks for helping out. Come back next month, and I might have something for you.
Did you get any money as a fill-in?
No.
Okay.
No.
You didn't get paid from Percy either?
I never got paid
Okay.
for person. No, you were a student. You were paying dues.
Okay.
That you never mentioned that to Percy.
Sure.
As far as just ask Craig.